necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production of Glory 93.9 FM.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Wardrobe provided by Bahari Bahamas. Visit shopbahari.com. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, on the show today, we are going to be looking at a topic that is asking the question, in essence, of what could be. What could be if we decided to be innovative and think outside the box and stop, trying to fit new wine into old wineskins. And we're talking specifically about two of our islands today. I'm waiting for my guest to log on. But Casey's coming on now. We're looking specifically at the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. And the topic of the day is rebuilding better, stronger together, Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. Because thanks to first Dorian and now COVID-19, well, Grand Bahama's woes began long before Dorian. Grand Bahama has been facing some major difficulties now for a long time, successive hurricanes, without any clear solution in sight. And then came Dorian, which added insult to injury, and now COVID, which has decimated our economy. But the two islands, I dare say, that perhaps have received the worst hit because of Dorian and, in Grand Bahama's case, successive storms, are Grand Bahama and Abaco. If you think we're feeling it here in Nassau, they really feeling it on those two islands. So my guest today is going to help us to imagine what it would be like for those two islands if we decided to think outside the box and do something different. Because we all know that, time again, that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, then you are technically insane. So this is what we are dealing with today. Reimagining what could be in Grand Bahama and Abaco if we dared to think outside the box. So, the ideal person to join in on this conversation is none other than the critical thinker himself, Mr. C. Allen Johnson. I have to say that C. Allen and I had planned, and then that whole thing happened with the back and forth between the third parties, and so we decided to do that instead, with the view that we were going to have this discussion at a later date. And so that later date is today. C. Allen Johnson, welcome back to GPS.
Thank you once again, Michelle. Thank you. Absolute pleasure to speak to
He can hear us. We
Bahama.
can hear him. There's no technical problems. Well, praise the Lord.
I really got you. I really got a new device. I really bought a brand new device just for you.
That's what happened. Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate that. So we don't have any technical issues starting off the show. All right. So clearly, C. Allen, we got to start rethinking the way we're doing things as it relates to the Bahamas as a whole, and these two islands in particular, because clearly business as usual is not working. What do you see first as a broad vision for these two islands?
Well,
and then
put in
going to
perspective,
break it down into pieces. Able to revive, restore, renew, and expand those two islands in a post-Dorian and COVID-19 devastated economy.
Well, in the broad perspective, we have to accept that the role that Grand Bahama and Abaco plays in the contribution to the development of the Bahamas. And a lot of time people look at it as only monetarily, but it is actually a branding issue, as well as the intellectual capital that flows from and through these particular islands. We've never done anything to truly quantify and qualify the amount of monies that actually we contribute, and we use these abstract numbers because we simply count basically from the treasury, as opposed to the fact that individuals on these islands may reside on these islands but actually have an impact in the business community. Mm-hmm. Now, here comes before, if you look in the perspective of a pre-Dorian, one of the greatest issues that we were having in the Bahamas as a whole was a problem with BPL, and here on Grand Bahama, the Amera. But BPL itself served as a devastating blow to the Bahamas, where it actually, due to the outage and everything, may have had an impact of as much as 20%, a negative impact of 20% on the GDP. Then here comes Dorian, September 1st, that had a devastating impact on the second and third largest economies in the Bahamas archipelago, or the Bahamas whole as it stands. So you are already operating at 80%. And here comes hitting Abaco, then coming and sitting over Grand Bahama, wiping out those two particular economies. So in essence, you could very easily, with those two buying economies, take out another 25 to 35%, depending on how you measure it. So in essence, you are now sitting at 45 to 55% of your total GDP that has been wiped away. Now, here's the problem that a lot of people may not understand when we talk about the GDP. Let's use an example. I own a restaurant, and some catastrophic event happens that my restaurant burns down. And oftentimes people will scream, well, the GDP of that restaurant in the economy has been wiped out. But this is what they miss. The GDP of the restaurant is the salaries I pay to my employees and the profits I make. What most people don't look at is the fact that the actual restaurant burned down that generated those GDP. So the loss is more eventful than simply the GDP being lost. And so when you hear governments and other people start talking about a $3 to $4 billion GDP loss, they're not looking at the infrastructural loss that has happened. For instance, you have almost 14,000 homes on Grand Bahama and Grand Bahama and Abaco that has been actually damaged or destroyed. And so we don't measure that total impact. When you look at the fact that 80% of businesses on Grand Bahama and about 90% of the business in Abaco was eliminated, that has a tremendous impact, and that's the business infrastructure that has been wiped out from the books. And so we can't just simply say the GDP has been disappeared, but the actual infrastructural damage has occurred. But then came COVID that actually shut down the entire Bahamian economy. And basically from March of 2020 to March of this year, we have had zero income. How do you say you have zero income? Yes, the government had some taxes, but the taxes that the government has taken in, it was the amount they paid out in social programs that they're claiming, at least by their numbers, most likely superseded any amount of money taken in, because the government needs about $250 million a month to operate. And the fact that more than as much as 60% of that business comes in the second half of the year, which is between January 1st and June 30th. And so the mere fact that you go back to May 20th, 2020, you'll see that we was totally shut down between March, not May, March of 2020. We was totally shut down between March and June 30th. So that literally brought zero income to the government, because the government gets it from revenues and taxes, majority from taxes. So essentially at zero income. Then we had the whole second wave beginning in June, July, that took us straight through almost, you might as well just wipe out the end of the year, which basically put us on limping. Even if the government just took in 10% of revenue, you would still see that, and they paid out $200 million, supposed to be $8 million extra, we are back at net zero, except for the $2 billion that we borrowed, the $2.1 billion. So you had easily at least a one and a half, 1.2 to $1.5 billion defect that ended in June 30th, in spite of the fiscal gymnastics that may have been presented. Then you go from June 1st until January 1st of this year, where again we needed another 1.5 billion to operate. So you needed a total of 2.8 billion dollars, and remotely we had nowhere near that. Now we're going into another 6 months without any type of revenue. The government made a promise of an economic recovery plan, and they spoke concerning the green economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the green economy, the knowledge economy, the digital economy, and the conceptual economies. Since September, August, September, we have not heard anything else beyond the synopsis that was delivered, nor have we revealed any strategies for rebuilding the economy, which then brings us back to what do we do? Many people have talked about this so-called diversification of the economy, and I've heard the linguistic gymnastics concerning the whole tourism aspect. Well, tourism being the 10th largest economy in the world, one then have to ask, are you going to leave the 10th largest economy to go to what, number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14, or will you seek to go to number 1 through 9, which we basically don't have the infrastructural ability to support? Yes, we could go to multiple of number 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever. And you can have a lot of those different arguments. But the low-hanging fruit in the room is the very businesses that we have been in, which is financial services and tourism. Now, no, let's recorrect the word, because we often use the word tourism when in reality it is actually hospitality. Now, hospitality is a 10th largest industry in the world, and the Bahamas in this multi-horse race has always relied on the one-horse pony for the last 60 years. And so we have never bought any other horses to enter the race into the hospitality industry. What do I mean by that? Medical hospitality, sports hospitality, wellness hospitality, education hospitality. You have so many different religious hospitality, so much different avenues that you can take, that in the hospitality industry that we could have doubled or tripled our economy. Anyone who basically looks at the potential of what the Bahamas should have been, we should have been operating, we should have reached at least 40 billion or between 40 and 60 billion dollars GDP based on what we were capable of achieving over the last 30 years. The problem is that we've had leadership that looked to sustain the past as opposed to build into the future. And so the question is that now that we are faced with this catastrophic proposal of rebuilding the economy, we must abandon the concept that we are going to repaint this old house and buy and recover the furniture and get some mold and mildew treatment, etc. We must look at the fact that we must reimagine the Bahamian economy, beginning with Grand Bahama and Abaco, as these two areas has the infrastructure that is necessary to rebuild, and we are rebuilding them back. The question is, are we going to rebuild back better, stronger, and now together? And so when you look at New Providence, you have, let's say, for all things being normal, COVID leaves, and New Providence with BPL comes into play. What now happens? The problem with that is that you will still be missing about 1/3 of your economy. Now, Grand Bahama was designed from 1955 on when before we had these vertical billings capabilities to hold 250,000 to 400,000 individuals. So the
Right.
infrastructures there made with very minimal effort, we could very improve that when you begin to talk about vertical billing, because technology now allows us to enhance or augment the type of infrastructure we need, such as sewer systems and water delivery systems and everything else. We have the digital infrastructure in place. So now the question is, do we look at trying to get New Providence to essentially double its GDP? And there's no room if you go back into the tourism or hospitality product or even just technology product or anything, there is no room on Grand Bahama. And a lot of people talk about a lot of different islands. It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy to talk about Andros because you're talking about a decade or more for properly building to preserve the assets of there. We haven't done a good job of oil and contaminations on New Providence. Why would you go to piss in your pristine water from which you would have to drink and eat from in the future? And so when you look at the other islands, we have never made any preparations for their infrastructural preparation. And
You
so
said something. You
if
said
we,
something. See, Alan, I got to
yeah,
interrupt because you're going to take a break. Um,
yeah,
you said something a moment ago that that made me think of an analogy. One of the things that I do is I'm a health coach, and often when I talk to clients who are um, dealing with a particular condition, and they're on medication, and they say, "Well, I'm a well-managed diabetic." I use this analogy. Imagine you have you go out and you buy a beautiful plant and you bring it home and you don't give it any water and you don't allow it to get any sunlight. Um, and you pretty much don't care for the plant. Eventually, the leaves are going to start to turn brown. So, if you decide to go out to the nearest paint shop and buy the most beautiful green paint you can find and bring it back home and paint over the brown leaves, and by the time you're done, it's nice and pretty green. Did you really fix the problem? Or did you make some aesthetic changes that make you feel good at the end of the day, but underneath the green paint, that plant is still dying? And I dare say that this is a part of the problem that we're experiencing in this country, where you talked about instead of building the future, they are, just trying to, how did you put it? Trying to maintain the past.
redecorate, yeah, redecorate and refurbish the
Yeah,
past.
we're painting over brown leaves and then patting ourselves on the back and saying, "See how green this plant is? Look what a good job we're
Yes.
doing." And meanwhile, the plant is dying. It's
Yes.
ludicrous. But yet, this is how we are running this country.
And the world is not waiting for us to catch up either. And so the problem is now, as you know, the COVID brought on a hyper-connected, digitized global system. And so here it is that we are trying to manage creating paperless documents. We've been utilizing it for those who have been using the internet for 20, 30 years. And so we are still trying to manage paperless document. You have government announcing that individuals are talking about innovation. Innovation is where they have finally somebody designed a payment system that has been in existence for 25 years. And so how do you design a payment system that's been for 25 years and anyone in less than 60 seconds could have went and got the same system? In fact, there are thousands of Bahamians using the systems like PayPal and Square and Cash Apps and other places. They only need to look at many of the popular churches and businesses. They've been using payment gateways that is not in the Bahamas for the longest. So to go spend millions of dollars paying a person to redesign something and the API that you could have just gotten for free. And so we are like almost like pretending that and hoping that nobody knows. Like we are on the highway on a tricycle, hoping that these guys in Maseratis and Porsches don't know that we're on a tricycle. Well, they are leaving us behind. And we don't have the conversation. It's like you don't see media having it. You don't have it in the debate. You have leadership who now comes out and cleans up areas and hands out temporary bags of food and all these different things. And then after the election, they will disappear. And the Bahamian people, I want them to know that we have to rethink what we've done in the past. Let's use an example. And as we talk, I'll show you. There's absolutely, and I guarantee the Bahamian public, within 3 to 5 years, or even sooner, based on individuals such as myself, we will have exponential growth in the Bahamas, including an expansion of the GDP. The problem is this will be a jobless growth. And what I mean by that, no jobs will come attached to this growth that's experiencing. In the same way we went from 6 billion to 8 billion to 12 billion to almost $16 billion now in the GDP, but the typical Bahamian has not seen or felt that doubling of the GDP over the last 8 years. So the problem now is that you may now have a $30,000 GDP, because as we talk about Grand Bahama, you will see that Grand Bahama in a matter of 2 years or 3 years can literally add about $8 billion to the GDP. So between Grand Bahama and Abaco, we could very easily add 50% to 60% to the GDP and create at the same time, literally 10,000, maybe 15,000 new millionaires in the same period of time if we just reimagine Grand Bahama and Abaco.
You make it sound so easy, C. Allen. You make it sound like, oh, this is no big thing. All you got to do is just reimagine. But if you don't have a reimagination bone in your body, if there's not one reimagination cell in your brain, how do you expect it to happen? Is the problem the leadership that is not visionary? Is that the core of the problem, or is this more multifaceted than that?
That is one of the primary things. And the problem is that the illusion that these individuals allow, or we allow these individuals to be, or we, I should say, we accept that these individuals have, in spite of the fact of their non-productivity over the years. And what I mean by that is that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. So the power should always flow up. The problem is that we have abrogated, we have abandoned our responsibility for participatory democracy, where we are participating in it and holding our members of parliament accountable. See, the problem we also have is we have become a nanny state, a papa state, a mama state, where you begin to look, imagine that you have MPs who are conditioning you that they will clean up these communities. And I have to ask myself, we're spending $500 million a year with these so-called departments of environment and Ministry of Works.
Mhm.
What are we paying them for? If the MP is going to take some practice and clean it up, it's a conditioning. And so the problem then becomes this level of what do we do to reshape and rethink. So we have to reimagine ourselves also in this process. We also have to reinvent ourselves and renew our commitment. What we are need in the country right now is a new social contract for where ownership becomes the priority and tearing down of the system that we have built. Parliamentarians go to office for three things: legislation, programs, and policies. Not cleaning up your neighborhood, not painting your house, not personally building your parks, not doing potholes or anything of that sort. And so when we begin to understand what their responsibility is, then we can move into our role and our responsibility of holding them accountable. But when you simply just leave the room, like you can imagine buying a multi-million dollar business, which is the Bahamas is a multi-billion dollar business, hiring some employees and then leaving for 5 years, and they degrade your company. And then instead of you becoming actively involved with your company, you just hire another set of people and you leave again. So this time we must stay in the store and have a level of accountability. Now, you said easy. I put to you that I've been talking about this for over a decade, but COVID revealed the possibilities that I've been speaking of for this decade and showing the steps that it makes it even easier. And so when you begin to talk about ownership, on Grand Bahama as an example, on Grand Bahama, we are in need of minimum of 20,000 rooms, 10,000 rooms to reach what is called net zero. What is net zero? If we get 10,000 rooms in the hospitality industry, we will be able to operate at no profit, take home a salary, pay the businesses if we still own the businesses, and meet what is called net zero. So we won't make any significant profit. And so when you start looking at 20,000 rooms, we're talking about sustainably incorporating, I believe, between 7 and 12,000 families who could very easily, in a period of 5, 6, 7 years, hit $1 million in profits. Then you would move to Abaco. Abaco makes an ideal environment. And I'm talking about for both Grand Bahama and Abaco. Grand Bahama has a multiplicities of things they can bring to the table. But Abaco itself is engrossed within the green economy, the blue economy, the creative economy, and actually as an offshoot of Grand Bahama, the digital economy. What happens is you could create a high-end environment. Each one of those need rooms. If you talk to a member of parliament or you talk to government, their idea would be to find 3 or 4 major mega hotels, and put it on the island and own and have those hotels have 2,000, 3,000 rooms to meet the 10,000. Whereas we can actually begin to redesign Grand Bahama. And we said we're in a housing crisis. You watched the news last night. You had 14,000 homes that was destroyed. You have a housing crisis in the Bahamas. The shantytown is not the crisis. If you look at some of the homes in the shantytown, they were superior to some of the homes in our inner cities and our outlying communities on the islands. And so that tells you then we must have a housing crisis that we must address. So where's the better place to do it? Grand Bahama could very easily hold 250,000 homes without vertical building. I mean, not Grand Bahama. I'm talking about Freeport alone. 70,000 acres times 4. 70, 140, 280. That's a quarter acre per home. So you literally could build 200,000 homes on a quarter acre without vertical building. Now consider that Grand Bahama as a whole is about 3 times the size of Freeport. So very easily you could build 1 million homes on Grand Bahama just staying non-vertical. If you begin to go vertical building in Grand Bahama, in Freeport alone, you could very easily put 1 million people here in 10 years. And
Don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud, Cialan, because you can encourage some people to start coming because they can say you'll need 1 million people.
But that's the easy part. We can talk about that on the back of the break.
Yeah, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. My guest today is Cialan Johnson, and we are talking about Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. Stay with us. It's going to get good, or better, because it's already good. This is GPS, y'all.
Located on Carmichael Road, Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and style. Our technicians provide a range of nail services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff, and over 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025 to schedule your appointment. Want to be pampered? Want to be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is C. Alan Johnson, and the topic of discussion is Rebuilding Better, Stronger Together, Grand Bahama and Abaco Reimagined. Now, just prior to the break, you said, C. Alan, that, there's sufficient room on Grand Bahama that you can create, if you go vertical, millions of residences. And I know that probably caused certain people's ears to perk up, because I've had them arguing with regard to the illegal immigration question. And the thing that they said was, we need, the Bahamas needs more people, and Grand Bahama alone could accommodate 1 million people. And I thought to myself, alrighty then, are you advocating that we all of a sudden just open the floodgates and 1 million people come in? So I don't want to lose focus on
Absolutely.
the show. Yeah.
I want to lose focus, but I am absolutely recommending that.
Is that
but
right?
Here's the problem. But there's a caveat to that. We could fix our immigration problem. See, the problem is that we think that all things remain the same. It's a problem. The problem is not the problem. The problem is the fact that we have an unenforcement of immigration problem, and all we need to do is codify a lot of the policies we have. What I mean by that, let's move to protect our citizenship. First thing we do is move to protect our citizenship and set strict guidelines. Let me use an example. Singapore and Freeport, let's use comparative for size. Singapore is 30 square miles larger than Freeport. I didn't say Grand Bahama. Singapore is 30 square miles larger than Freeport with 6 million people. I said that Singapore could fit into Grand Bahama at least 3 or more times. Okay? They don't have an immigration problem because they simply create laws for how it's for development. So we could very easily, without any type of constitutional amendment, create the laws that is necessary for citizenship and setting high benchmark. And any violation of those benchmark disqualifies you. If you enter the country without any type of documentation, this is where documentation with digitization comes in. If you enter the country without any documentation, you disqualify for making applications for work permit, work permit, or just for living status. You can come in the Bahamas and live all you want. And I'm going to come to the part quickly. I'm not going to move this to an immigration discussion, but you could actually create where you have penalties for immigration violation. When you have a national ID service where anybody coming into the country, because you can have multiple tiers of ID, must have an ID service. When somebody goes to work or even start a business, if they are to be found working in the Bahamas or running a business in the Bahamas, if that's the rules we want, we will make them legally barred from ever making application or even coming back to the Bahamas again. And this isn't subject to an immigration officer or subject to a minister. This would be codified law. It says that any business that houses a person working, let's say use a fine, automatically the fine would be $10,000 for anyone who has anybody working for them. And very easily, what do? You says anybody that making a report, anonymous report concerning someone working or running a business illegally in the Bahamas will receive 20% reward, a 20% payment for a violation. Okay, if you have payments from 10,000 and up. So now you have you have just made almost everybody in the Bahamas an immigration officer. Because now I may be at work, I look over and say, hey, Charlie, man, you ain't got your paperwork straight here? He said, man, I'm working on it. I said, oh, give me a second, I'm going to go call my wife. Hi, immigration. There's a guy right at such and such address named Charlie wearing green pants and a blue shirt and a black hat. Illegal. They give me a number. They take him up. find the business and enforce it. 10%, seizing their assets, seizing their bank accounts, whatever it is. And so we just need to have laws and good governance. We said citizenship where you earn citizenship. When you come to the Bahamas, you must pay your fair share. You must own a home. You must show documentations for the 10 years or 20 years. In fact, I believe that the minimum benchmark for citizenship in the Bahamas should be 20 years. I believe in a tiered citizenship system. So, because my thing about it is if I give you every right in the country except the right to vote, what more do you want? Because basically, the citizenship is the right to vote is the exclusivity of citizens. And so we can have an open door policy if we actually are willing to create laws for good governance and enforce those laws. There's absolutely no problem in the Bahamas that we could not solve in a matter of 3 to 6 months. All we require is leadership and a commitment to have it done. It can't be my illegal is different than your legal and everyone else illegal. And so we then move to build affordable housing. And again, when a person enters the country with a work permit, that work permit must be attached with a lease agreement by the employer, not the worker. So basically, we're going to eliminate this whole thing where you just bring a person in the country for minimum wage and they have to pay for their own environment. If they're bringing children with them, remember now, we guarantee access to education. We've been saying that we guarantee that we're going to pay for education. That's not the agreement we signed. Access means that we will not deny you access to education, public or private. But we simply say to you, if you're bringing children with you, you must show where you would make the contribution of whatever it costs for those child. The child has access. You just have to pay for it. And so we just have to set simple rules for governance in the country. You also will have the employer make a contribution, whether it be insurance, in case that worker. So we can insure people from birth to death. And so when the person enters the country, we will even have an insurance to send the body back to the country from which they came. And so we just have to decide that's what we want. But immigration creates a multi-billion-dollar gap in our economy, because if there's 40,000 or 50,000 illegals working for $100 less, somebody is saving $300 million a year in salaries. Now it costs us the Bahamians should now work for $100 less. So times that by the 200,000 workforce. But guess what? Somebody just made $1.1 billion in savings. So you can see where illegal immigration allows $1.5 billion at minimum a year, and that don't count the illegal transport. $1.5 billion a year to go to the books of the typical Bahamian. And then you just ending this, it says, look at our GDP of $14 billion and $2 billion for the economy. That $14 billion is not my figure. That's the IMF figure for as of January. When you look at it, you'll realize, believe it or not, less than 2,000 people or families make $9 billion of that. And the rest of the Bahamian people, 200,000 of us, share the other $5 billion. They make 2,000 people make $9 billion. And then 200,000 people must share the other $5 billion. And you're not even getting your fair share of that. And so, yes, I'm talking about immigration reform attached to this economic revitalization of the Bahamian economy. But I'm also talking about ownership of the Grand Bahama and Abaco economy.
Before we get to ownership, because I know there's some people out there listening to this who are asking this question in the back of their head. So what you are recommending then when it comes to immigration reform is that there be a difference between citizens and residents who, I don't know the right terminology, are given here, and visitors.
Permanent residents, regular residents, and visitors.
Yeah, see, because let me tell you, if you're talking 1 million people, we have 400,000 Bahamians in the country right now.
Yes.
So you're talking being outnumbered in your own country.
Well, Singapore, that we admire, has 2 million citizens and 4 million foreigners.
Okay, so again, the question is, does that look like where citizenship is reserved Indigenous Bahamians and everyone else who has the right to be here is here as a permanent resident, or how does that look? What does that look like?
What happens is, this is where citizenship becomes the most valuable thing in the country. This is
Right.
where citizenship becomes the most valuable thing in the country, because citizenship reserves some exclusive access where you don't have to ask for certain things. You don't have to make application for certain things. It comes as part of your national identity services. We will also protect the so-called Just Soleil, and we'll look at how Just Soleil and Just Sanguillas happen. And both of those is in the Bahamas. And so I had a garbage conversation that is in totally by the legal fraternity. I'm embarrassed for them, because we have a combination of both Just Soleil and Just Sanguillas. Just Soleil mean right of the soil, being born here, as well as Just Sanguillas also mean right of blood. And so what we have to do is to look at those individuals, but what we have to do is stop this whole call giving away. So we can set a benchmark. When you look at even number 7 in our constitution about foreigners being born here, first we can identify it'll be impossible for you to make application for any child born in the Bahamas if you as a parent did not enter the country legally or entered legally and remain legal, because we're not gonna have this twisted and garbage conversation of intellectual dishonesty. And so essentially, but even if you are born here, number 14 of the Constitution allows us to set caveats to that, including your participation in the economy, and even for 20 to 25, even 30 years, we can add to when you will actually have a right to vote. You will have all other rights and privileges, but the right to vote will be reserved exclusively for a class of Bahamians that we will clearly identify that will have that particular right reserved. And so we can look at our immigration problem, our citizenship problem in an honest, open discourse, not with this I feel, I think, I believe, I was told, I pray, I wish. Let's look at it for what it is, for what is called a national dialogue, because our political parties, even in the immigration issues, is being the greatest amount of dishonest individuals, Bahamians there ever is. And when we talk about the rights of women and everything else, I have daughters, I have sisters, I have a mother, I have aunts and a grandmother, everything else. So please don't come for me unless you want me to come back for you. I'm talking about the fact that the Constitution gave us the right to give women every right they've asked for since 1973, and men and women in Parliament have sat there and been totally dishonest. And in 10 minutes, they give sharks, they give turtles, and they give dogs rights, but they have not taken the opportunity to give women the exact same rights when the Constitution makes room for it. So please don't come back with this constitutional garbage about you need constitutional amendment to give my sister, my daughters, my nieces, and my aunts and everything that right. Be honest with people, and people become informed. Don't allow these political pirates and pimps and prostitutes to come back and tell us this so-called garbage. We have to begin to have honest conversation. The world has been preparing. The race for supremacy has begun. We cannot be putting on our cliques when the rest of the world is already in or out the gates. No more time for us to pretend leadership or anything else. We must take ownership of this country and the resources for us to have it. The most powerful brand in the world today in hospitality is the word Bahamas. Why haven't we exploited for ownership? And when you talk about capital, please don't talk about capital, because there's billions of dollars waiting for simply asking. And I can tell you, don't ask your slave masters to ask for you. You must know where to and how to ask and demand that they change the rules for it to happen. I've demanded the same for years. We have the digital assets bill. It's not as strong as I want it to be, but it's a powerful tool. We have where a policy position has been taking that you don't need to ask for permission for under $10 million to bring into the country or for investment. We also have a part coming right now where you have the bill where you could do crowdfunding for $5 million. But guess what? None of these laws that we have prohibits you from doing this outside of the country and raising the capital for which the foreigners do every single day. And so the problem is that they've never taught you what banking is. Banks and investors only invest in vehicles. The problem is you've been taught that you qualify for nothing but jobs. What do you mean by vehicles? An automobile is a vehicle for transportation. A home is a vehicle. A house is a vehicle for home ownership, and a business is a vehicle for wealth building. That's the vehicles I'm talking about. Not no car, not no Honda, not no Fit, and all these other different things. The problem is if you send people to Parliament that they themselves don't have the idea or concept of both local and national building and development, they can only pour out of them what is in them. And so the problem is that the collective intelligence of all of us, we are sending people who should follow instructions for those of us that know. But if you allow yourself to become part of a political tribe where your only value is a t-shirt and some ham and turkey every year and your neighborhood clean up in a multi-billion-dollar economy, you deserve what you get.
I read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. This is Monty Pratt. Hey, Monty. Monty says 80% of Dubai population are expats. They work and live there and must abide by the country's laws. They are not allowed to be involved in the country's politics. We need to grow our population. Not until we change our mindset to allow approved foreigners wanting to invest, live, and work in the country, our economy will never grow. What are your thoughts on that?
Amen, amen. I'm in the choir. I'm in the choir going, hey, the pastor. but see, this is what happens. This is where the intellectual dishonesty come in, when we allow individuals who gain is to have low cost workers come in to sustain the whole infrastructure, the plantation infrastructure we have. And I'm saying to you, if we have open and honest conversation, I've read a number of Monty Pratt papers and his ideas, and I would tell you, Monty Pratt has been about 2 or 3 decades ahead of the curve of our leadership. But there's not just him; there's multiple people involved with that. I've read his ideas for cities and stuff, and as a digitization person, if I get literally with almost little effort, just see myself just dropping a digitalization, just dropping the future on it with a little tweaks. But again, these are dismayed. Why? Because you send people to Parliament who can't sit with Monty Pratt and others, and the Gilbert Morris and others before they went to Parliament. So all you have done now is if you send an idiot to Parliament, you've done nothing now but give an idiot a title. It doesn't change who they are. And so the problem is that if we actually begin to have the discussion of what we want as a country, and we must have this discussion now as what we want for the country as a country, because if we don't, we will actually be rebooted, or we will perish in this new dispensation. I have absolutely no idea. If we are at the threshold, we are at the top of the mountain, and here's the problem: we have begin to go down the mountain, and the government is screaming, "See how fast we're moving?" They just didn't tell the people it's downhill.
Oh my goodness! See where the Free National Movement has decided that it will not participate in the debate. UB and Verizon Media Group were trying to put together with all of the with leaders of the major parties. The chairman saying yesterday, I believe it was, that they will not be participating in that, and he gave a very long explanation as to.
Always don't make any sense.
Well, a very long explanation about why they aren't participating because of, things not being as they should be. And I, quite frankly, say, yeah, right. Because
that's what I'm saying. He mixed it up. One good strength that he had in there was the fact that we don't know if the election is tomorrow or next year.
Right.
And the easiest way for us to find that is to have Dr. Hubert Minnis come again and reassure people of the promise that he made, that there will be no election till next year. That's all he had. All Dr. Minnis. There's 2 things that determines the election: the Constitution and Dr. Minnis. And Dr. Minnis has to simply say, "I will follow the Constitution and serve my full term, and I'll see you guys next year. I have a right to campaign a year in advance, but I'm going to tell you right now, there will be no election until he could set it up until August 23rd or 20-something of 2022, and so he could squeeze in an extra 3 months if he wants to, and let's tell the people we'll be on our way. Just say, I'll serve my full term till May, and then we'll set the 90-day election at the end of my 5-year term, and we can set it for August of 2022, and let's govern and let's build the economy."
So Stacy says, Dr. Minnis barely speaks to the media, and y'all expect him to have a debate, child, please. Stacy is also asking you the question, C. Allen, whether or not, if you were offered the position of being a senator, you would accept the offer.
I would, as an independent senator. There's 4. Let me explain. There is a position there. What we don't understand is there's 4 opposition senators. There is 8 government senators, but supposedly we're supposed to have 4 independent senators. I think the only independent senator we've ever had in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas was, believe it or not, the current Senator Fred Mitchell. And in fact, he had a legal challenge to declare himself a legal independent senator when the Right Honorable Hugh Alexander Ingham tried to remove him as a senator. And so if you move into what is called an independent senatorship so that I can become an advocate for the people, an advocate for the growth, not arguing for the government, nor arguing for the FNM, but become a voice of the people, I would happily accept it.
All right, you heard it here. Okay, let's see. We are going to take a break. And then when we come back on the other side, we're going to continue the conversation with C. Alan Johnson. We're talking Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. What would that look like? How do we build back stronger, better together?
Stress, hats off. Looking like I walked out of catalog. Everybody wanna know where I got it from. Catwalk, 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 boutique, where we make fashion statements. Catwalk, boutique, where we make fashion statements.
For the latest styles on women's clothing and accessories, visit Catwalk Boutique on Robertson Road East at the Helron Plaza. At Catwalk Boutique, we make fashion statements.
Glory 93.9 FM, the people's favorite gospel station.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. Abaco focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Pirateswell, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, Contact your longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is the critical thinker. C. Alan Johnson is in the house once again. And we are talking about rebuilding better, stronger together. Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. And obviously, C. Alan, critical to this reimagination, I would think, and I know you're going to get off in this segment because this is your thing, and that is technology.
Absolutely.
Embracing technology, not just in word, but in deed. So is this an opportunity now for us to get it right as it relates to incorporating technology into this effort to rebuild better, stronger, and together?
Absolutely. Not just technology from a build-out standpoint. I'm talking about technology for accessing the capital, for accessing the people, for everything else. We have the ability, when you look at hospitality as an example, and just on your show, let me say, within the coming weeks, I'm part of something called Project Hope. And Hope stands for Home Ownership, Promotes and Provides Empowerment, HOPE. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to look towards this housing crisis and utilizing our branding as well as the digitization of the global economy to try to put, ready for this numbers, a minimum of 20,000 people in their homes. And these homes will technically be free of charge. And what do you mean by free of charge? Because the technology and the information available today would allow for it to be financed, utilizing, as a touch of what I'm saying, you said technology. There are some new concept in the marketplace that myself and others have been working at for 10 years, which is what is considered distributed data services. We have distributed power services. We have the new high-end bed and breakfasts, and as well as other different things. And so when you combine these type of technologies, multiple technologies together, you could very easily build a person home, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, along with say 2 accompanying bed and breakfast, and it doesn't cost them 1 penny to live.
I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good morning, Michelle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Super. And good morning to C. Alan Johnson. Yeah, one of my favorite Bahamian gentlemen in the country. Yes. I mean, this is the type this gentleman, I'm saying a story before and how I would have disclosed how in my last 50, just about short of 50, couple of months short of 51 years, how the government, the Bahamian government, 2 parties have defrauded me out of my education. But when I listen to you, my friend, you express and exhibit what I grew up for a little short time and heard in my oldest brother. I mean, it's like divine way of thinking just by being educated. And so you're using your education and your divine ability to live your truth and then to help others see theirs. And that is so awesome. And that is why I like to say, and I start to say, Michelle, GPS for life, it's amazing how this show bring life. That's what y'all bring. That's what we bring. When I say we who contribute into the debate, because the truth of the matter, this young man, Mr. C. Alan Johnson, I need the world to know, just in case if you're slip past Amos intelligence, that he represents the person who I was speaking about when I say I am the least. So if I am the least and you can't accept C. Alan Johnson, then I need the Bahamian people to explain to GPS Live that is going to be here forever what's going on. Because it can't be education and it can't have anything to do with the lack of education. What is it? Because Michelle needs to know also. So let me further encourage Mr. C. Alan Johnson. Let me encourage, the people in Grand Bahama and Abaco the real, when I say real Bahamians, you could be a foreigner, but you're a real Bahamian. You could be, so you have foreigners who show more respect for our country than Bahamians who live here. Alan Johnson, it is a divine pleasure to live in the same timing in this world that you live in. Okay? And Michelle, to y'all, I want y'all to be blessed to know those. I'm 51 come the 2nd of June. And those years y'all two people, young people have ahead of me, it was for my divine blessing. Okay? And our nation and our world will be a better off place when more voices like you, okay, accept this way of, bringing the truth. You see, this is what Michelle does. She brings life. And brother, that's what you represent. Life, the seed, life. Okay, so let's get back to what Michelle talking about. Rebuilding, better, stronger together.
Yeah.
Now, Michelle, I'm leaving you right now with this last party. It's going to be building for the first time, stronger. Okay, but let's do it together. And for those of us who's going to be rebuilding like me, I have to rebuild. I once built, but I'm happy to know I got GPS to help me and to guide me as I walk this beautiful path. Thank you, C. Allen. The Lord see you, bro. The creator of the universe. Where do we want to? Okay, love you all, man. Respect.
Thank you for calling.
GPS for life.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much for your support in this. Thank you so much.
Shall we continue? Yes. All right. I want to read a comment. It says, this is from Siobhan. Siobhan says, until we change the way we select our representatives, leaders, and vote in leaders with integrity, these social injustices will continue to occur. We need visionary leaders with integrity in our country. We have such a great country, but we lack leadership. She brings up a very interesting point.
No, everything rises and falls on
leadership. Because
make no doubt.
We're home talking about how we build and rebrand, but unless you get the right visionary leadership who is not afraid of change and willing to embrace others who have perhaps ideas that they and their people have not been able to come up with, then we're going to be stuck in this mud.
Well, what happens is on Grand Bahama, and I've reached out to an individual in Abaco. I don't know if she wants her name mentioned at this time, but we're going to move to create an alliance between these two islands, these two economies, and we're going to look to build an economy that's owned by Bahamians for Bahamians. We're not going to allow no mega hotels. We're not impressed by the $2 tourist that's going to come by the cruise ships. We're going to look to build a branded high and medium to high end destination that has the combination of both homes, apartments, as well as things for them to do. We're going to look for a place for them to live, work, play, and do whatever else they would do here in the Bahamas. But what we're going to do is we're going to define who we are, and we're going to define who we will become. And we're not going to allow 7 individuals who somehow takes an absence from the people they represent to go to Parliament and misrepresent who we are. When you talk about technology, we're going to look Miami. I don't believe that we have missed the technological hub. I just believe that it will not happen under this administration, because clearly those are individuals capable within this country. I know the individuals who they have there. Most of them before May 10th couldn't turn on their phone. Now they're experts building digital infrastructures around the world. And then I would challenge any of them. I mean, the current minister, Kwesi Thompson, the minister for Grand Bahama, the minister for technology, and the minister now for finance. This is where we are right now. We actually have leadership that consider the Bahamian intelligence a joke as to what we do with marketing song by governance. But here's what happens. Grand Bahama, and by extension Abaco, is going to take back its power. For one thing, during this next election campaign, they will know on Grand Bahama and on Abaco, the power of the people is and shall be greater than the people in power. But we're going to redefine this economy as a collective. Business people, religious leaders, just regular normal people. And we're going to open up a gateway so the most common amongst us with guidance can own bed and breakfasts. Because if you're going to have 40,000 rooms, we're actually talking about just put 2 bed and breakfasts in the design sector. We're talking about families that can generate $200,000 a year from the bed and breakfast sector. We talk about 400,000 people coming to Grand Bahama. Nobody sees or feels them in the truest respect. But if we were to upgrade our infrastructure, what we want to do, combine digital, right? Because you have Miami with the tech hub is coming. We'll have our own tech environment where we're going to have innovation centers. We're going to push to have innovation centers, startup centers, whatever it takes, digital centers, hub, whatever it takes for us to build the Grand Bahama economy. We're going to ignore the emasculated place called the Grand Bahama Port Authority. We're going to
That was where I was going next.
Right, we're going to ignore them, because when we say ignore them, we're going to continue for the removal of the cyst, that cancer cyst. As it stands right now, there's 3 knees on the neck of Grand Bahama, and I'm sure the same thing is in Abaco. It's the energy company, it's the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the Office of the Prime Minister. And what we're going to say to them is, take your knees off our knees, and then we're going to go back to Linden Pendant. Right, off our neck, sorry. And we're going to go back to Linden Pendant. Going forward, this island, for the power to be, they will bend or they will be broken. And we are going to design the new Grand Bahama and the new Abaco, where ownership is. And we talk about ownership. When you talk about capital, I just want to imagine we already work on the platform and we already look at the legalese of what it requires. There's no reason why a person that wants a home in Grand Bahama can have 2, as part of a marketing campaign, 2 bed and breakfasts attached to their home and have it pre-booked for 2 or 3 years in advance. That will allow them to also have the resources from those type of revenues to guarantee the mortgage and the build out. And those secondary mortgages and investment, this is not something in theory we're talking about. This is something that we have worked at, and the attorney we work with is Mr. Gregory Moss, that has looked at the legality of doing this both here and abroad, raising the capital without having to depend on the other pimps in this town, which is called foreign banks. And so essentially we're looking for low interest or no interest loans by basically selling our destination advance. Just use an example. You have Bahama that came here, and all they had was a couple of signatures, and they went and raised the capital that was necessary for it to be built. Well, the capital we are talking about raising for Grand Bahama to build these 20,000 homes, that literally people can live in it for free until they satisfy the minimum requirements over 7 to 10 years, and they will have title to the property. Doesn't require any type of monthly payment. It requires just a participation in the economy. And so there is money out there. But the problem is, let me do another sidebar. I've made this application for almost 4 years to the Office of the Prime Minister. I've not even had an opportunity of an audience to allow us. Initially, before it even happened, we were making an offer almost $200 million for the Alokaya, and in conjunction with the airport, between $200 to $250 million. And guess what we were willing to do? We were willing to give ownership to a sovereign wealth fund type environment and having it managed by an independent sovereign asset management company. We just wanted to be able to apply the idea to this. The government is spending $1 million a month on this hotel since it's open. We have paid $30 million for it, and we have spent almost up to $200 million, and we're going to give it away, including a few almost billions of dollars in tax concession, when it's absolutely not necessary in this global environment. We can look at those 1,000 rooms, or technically 550 rooms, and a new build forward, better, stronger together type environment. And we can raise the capital from a sovereign asset management perspective. Of course, politics and political leadership will have no influence on that. And we're talking about hundreds of acres of golf courses and beachfront properties, and having a point of entry with what do you call marina and everything else. And we can't maximize and do this with almost 1,000 rooms. which is equivalent to what Bahama have, and we're trying to figure out how we could bend over and give it to somebody else. And because they're looking at doing the same systems, when we could have simply upgraded our brand of the Alokaya brand and make it a type of environment for where people would want to pay, where they would want to pay top dollar to come in. Just simply multiply those rooms by a whole new different branded type environment, the same thing you're getting with Atlantis and other places. And so we're going to move that though, since the government wants to give this away. We're going to make it to the point where that place there might be even irrelevant for those investors, because we're going to come with our own type of environment. Maybe they will handle the low end visitors, that hotel and the investment will be for the low end visitors, the Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's type of visitors. And then we will, the rest of the Grand Bahama and Abaco economy will move towards the medium to high end brand, where individuals will come to relax, to work, to play, to shop, to do whatever is necessary. A combination of hospitality, where you have medical, you have education, you have sports, you have technology, you have all of these type of environment. We're gonna challenge Singapore and the rest of them in our vision for what we want for Grand Bahama.
I remember seeing a study. This was shortly after Dorian, and I was doing a series of shows on that. And I remember seeing, or it was either a video or some report that I read that talked about for every day of delayed rebuilding, that sets you back 3 years, I believe. For every day,
Yes,
3 years
three
was set.
years.
So when we look at the very little that has been done, both in Grand Bahama and in Abaco, as it relates to the rebuilding process, trying to get things back, you're not talking a matter of days now. You're talking a matter of over a year since Dorian hit. So if every day represents 3 years of delay in terms of your ability to get back to normal, how heavy of a load are you talking about lifting when you're talking about implementing this vision that you have? It's not going to be as easy as it sounds, because you have such a long period that has already passed, that according to that study, every day represents 3 years of delay in getting things back to normal. So how heavy of a load are we talking about lifting? And is this load so heavy that it is inconceivable that it can be done?
Actually, it's not utilizing the new mindset of the 21st century environment. We don't have to build any infrastructure. The airport is here, the hub is here, our location is here. Everything that is necessary, the digital infrastructure is here. The leadership is what's missing from this particular island. And so when we look at this, right, and this is why I pull up my notes right here. We says we're gonna have Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagine, where we're gonna have people come to live, work, study, play, visit, explore, invest, dine, and shop. We're going to be built on the digital economy, the conceptual economy, the knowledge economy, the green economy, blue economy, orange economy. This island will have transparency, accountability, integrity, and freedom of information. We're talking about building a massive rethink of these twin economies. We're not talking about modifying anything. Modifying an old archive, an old architecture could take decades. A rebuild can take a year or two. Here's the beauty about it. The construction industry is what any country looks for as a gauge to its health. And so when you start talking about rebuilding a multi-billion-dollar economy, you're talking about a massive stimulus of build out. Because like when we look at the homes on Grand Bahama, many of these, in fact, 90-something% of all the homes on all the bed and breakfast on all the other islands don't even meet 2-star status. So we're talking about 3, 4, and 5-star type environment that we're building out. That's all going to be financed in advance. And so that construction alone will draw thousands of individuals, if not tens of thousands, to Grand Bahama as a support team. You don't build 20,000 homes, on average of 100 homes per week, with the actual population and strength of the individuals here. Now, here's one of the problems that we're going to face. The oligarchs and the plutocrats and the political class do not want a disbursement of individuals out of the islands of New Providence. They have created New Providence as their economic base. And the problem with developing Grand Bahama and Abaco is that you will move maybe as many as 10 seats out of New Providence, breaking up the seat of power. And so we don't care about the seat of power because we're going to build our new constituencies here, and then we'd eventually choose the representation that we want. And so when you talk about giving an average Bahamian family, the government talking about giving you a piece of crown land. I've heard third political parties talking about giving everybody 1 million acres. Pure garbage. Okay, like in Singapore, again, use an example we like to point to. 85% of the land, if I'm served to be corrected, is owned by the people as a collective. We can have a conversation on land reform, which will be part of our conversation. But what happens is it allows for home ownership. And when you say 20,000 individuals owning bed and breakfasts, we're hoping those 20,000 individuals come from within Grand Bahama, because we talk about, when you say 20,000 here on Grand Bahama for a start and 10,000 on Abaco, we're talking 30,000 families now. That's literally 20%, 25% of the population of the Bahamas. We're looking to suck out of that cesspool of development called New Providence and move them into an organized, future-based built environment. And so they won't face with the atrocities of health and traffic and all these different things that happens on Grand Bahama, because we're talking about a master plan island. We're talking about smart homes in smart communities in smart cities on a smart island, hopefully followed by a smart country. And so we're talking about a total rebuild from scratch. And so the minute we begin the rebuild process, of course, it requires some momentum, because we now going to have to find the housing aspect to have people come from New Providence. We're hoping that they abandon New Providence so we could send a bulldozer there and raise the place and build it like we're going to build Grand Bahama. And so we can find the housing, whatever, even as temporary, to begin to bring people here on Grand Bahama. And then those individuals will hopefully become homeowners here on Grand Bahama and move their families here, because we're talking about new economic models and new economic opportunities of ownership between the two of these. And I one time make a challenge, and I said on your show before, I would challenge it. This is, it takes a little bit more fleshing out on this, but I challenge the economists and the individuals in the office of the prime ministers and others to have a conversation with myself and others as part of this team, and let us blow your mind at the possibilities of rebuilding the economy if you're willing to separate yourself from this facade of superiority to the people that you represent. And so, but when you just use an example, we said, how do we create the jobs? Let's use what the prime minister says: the green economy, the blue economy, the knowledge economy, the digital economy, the orange economy, the conceptual economy. If we take one of those, and believe it or not, let's stick to hospitality. I wouldn't even go outside of the hospitality, since it's something we know, hospitality and financial services. If we take the sports aspect of hospitality and look at what we could build just in stadium and otherwise, we could very easily drop 5,000 to 10,000 individuals in that area alone and in employment. Then let's go to education destination. Tens of thousands of individuals is denied entry into the US alone, and Canada and others, because they can't meet the financial requirements for citizenship. We're going to protect us. They have the just so labor, you're born on the soil. We're going to protect us. So we're going to invite individuals, as we move into this digital environment, to come to the Bahamas to learn. You don't need to go to the US or attend a US university, because you can do it digitally from Grand Bahama or Abaco, and live in a pristine environment. So in your spare time, you can do golf, you can do tennis, you can swim on the beaches, you can go to the tech hub, you can even begin to develop your business while you're in school to actually help develop our island, our country, and the other place. Now let's go to medical tourism. We believe that we can build a world-class hospital here at no cost to the government and no cost to the Bahamian people, by virtue of the doctors and other people who practice on this island could sustain $1 billion hospital to sustain the type of environment we're talking here. And so when you now go to the knowledge economy, you have second home ownership, where individuals will, in the proper environment, would spend $1 million on their home so they can reside in the Bahamas if they can have reliable power. And this is where, when I speak about distributed power, green energy, and distributed data across this island, allows them to live and work and play here. They would pay $1 million just to meet the residency requirements. And so we could easily bring 2, 3, 4, 5,000 of those individuals, considering if Miami become a tech hub, we will definitely become a tech hub or a sub hub of it. And so 60 miles away, they can live here and work effectively in Miami because the prices of real estate in Miami is already going to the roof. That companies are buying billions of dollars worth of properties. If you look at Tulsa, Elon Musk, when he went to Texas, he's almost demanding thousands of homes being built. If Miami can't build it, we can build it, and we can create a grand transportation between Miami and here that you can get there in an hour or two and go to work in Miami and live, play, whatever in the Bahamas, or connect remotely to that environment. We just have to show them the blueprint, the idea of what is going to happen.
I want to read a couple of comments from our Facebook viewers. Graham has quite a bit to say on the comments here. Graham says, we're talking Tourism 2.0, Abaco and Bimini models. Andros is the ideal place for a new tech city. And he goes on to say, we need to give Abaco the 99-year agreement for the Bahamian local that we gave to the foreigner in Freeport. And then
I disagree too. Oh.
Okay, well, I can let you respond right now. He also says, Sun Solar, we said years ago, you will have no tech anything without affordable energy. What do you disagree with?
No, I agree with the energy thing. I just want people to, for those who's delusionary about this Andres thing, please just stop. Andres has a value of over $200 billion in its current state. We can't keep oil. You can imagine taking Andres at one time was considered the Eden project of the world to feed and house the thing. We're talking about the third largest barrier reef in the world for fisheries in the world. You can't keep the oil in cars on New Providence. So you're going to go to an Andres environment without the technology to do it. And you're going to introduce cars and gas and oil and cooking oil and all these contaminants in one of the most pristine places on earth by ignoring the other islands by which you can actually go, ignoring Grand Bahama with the infrastructure, and ignoring Abaco with the budding infrastructure to talk about you're going to just create something randomly that you're going to build from scratch. That may even take a decade. But here you have a pristine project. Let's keep Andres as the Eden project of the world and begin to make people to pay us for it. And then when we go to build Andres, there'll be no gasoline cars, nothing that could even consider contamination of soil, and we'll have 100% recovery of anything that you take into Andres, a pristine environment. And when you talk about this 99-year lease, I mean, if I would say, please, we don't need to give anybody anything. When you say I'm talking about a right of a Bahamian, that I don't need no special legislation for me to have a right. I am saying if you want to offer a right for which the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement gives, it is for foreigners. As a Bahamian, I don't need to ask for anything. You can imagine that I'm in my house right now, that I need to go ask permission to go to my fridge, to my bathroom, to lay in my bed. What type of crap? I don't need a 99 lease for that. If any laws we create, it'll be for foreigners to abide by in our country. We are going to say the Bahamas is for Bahamians by Bahamians. And any laws we create is for how others would abide by it. But we don't need laws to tell me how I will participate in my economic picture. This is our country, and we're going to take ownership of it. And anybody else that want to participate will have to bend to our rules and our laws for their co-participation in it, not the other way around.
All right, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. What would those islands be like if we embraced a totally different model? We're talking to C. Alan Johnson about that today. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to look at education. What role does education have in this reimagined Grand Bahama and Abaco model? That on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, fresh out the water and affordable too, We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want. Ocean blue got it. Ocean blue friendly and clean, best service you ever seen. Ocean blue is the best in seafood, fresh out the water and affordable too, Ocean blue seafood, we are here for you. Ocean blue seafood, no one else will do. Ocean Blue Seafood, located on Burnett Road. Contact us at 393-2160.
At the Shirley Street Plaza, you'll find Le Petit Gourmet, a small cafe that's big on flavor. Handcrafted delights made with love will not only please your palate, but feed your soul. Call us at 394-1251. 8 to 12 minutes is all it takes for a burglar to rob your home or business. Security Systems International provides professional and affordable solutions for both. Call 396-5000 for your customized quote. Gwen's Alterations provides professional services for all your tailoring needs, including face masks to keep you safe and in style. A stitch in time saves 9. So call us today at 393-6227.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, and my guest today is C. Alan Johnson. We're talking about rebuilding better, stronger together, Grand Bahama and Abaco reimagined. Of course, we would love to hear from you. Our telephone lines are 828-3543. 828-3543 is the number to call, and the text line is 828-2543. 828-2543 is the text line. And of course, you can put a comment on our Facebook stream, and we will pick through a couple of them and put them on the air. So, key to this discussion, C. Alan Johnson, is education. Because if we continue to produce a majority, and maybe I'm wrong to say a majority, but if we continue to produce at the rate that we are, students who are, for the most part, functionally illiterate, how does that bode for our ability to move towards this reimagined, Grand Bahama and Abaco, if this is what our education is producing?
I love it. That's the thing about it is I want to create people in pajamas that helps people in suits that will work for them until they actually become empowered. What happens is we're going to buy the expertise. Anything we lack, we'll buy the expertise we need. If you should chip your teeth right now or tooth, you won't go and become a dentist, you'll go and buy it. Now, here's the thing about education. And, an education is not the key to what most people think. I think it is backwards. Here's why. Education is useless when your oppressors are the ones educating you. They will not prepare you to ever overcome them or their children. However, I believe in the concept that empowered people would demand better education for their children. And empowered people would demand a better environment. It will demand a better country. And so what happens is the education system is broken by design. Our economic empowerment system is broken by design. Our political parties are fed and meant to be broken by design. This is why the oligarchs finance the least competent amongst us, the least capable among us, to actually govern us, because they want people that lack the vision or the ability to change the system that they have created. I'm seeking with help with friends and families and others to disrupt the system. And essentially, COVID has disrupted the system. You can't dress up a system that's meant to oppress you. You must disrupt it. You must replace it. And so essentially, the easiest thing that we should have been doing, even for the Bahamian economy, is we should build a new economy, look at what is necessary from the old economy to be routine that is subject to the new economy, not build around some old ideas and ideology. They want you to build around their ideas of food store when we could actually have just-in-time delivery from anywhere in the world to provide our needs for delivery. They want you to keep the whole model. Let's use an example, the simplest thing. We are facing an economic crisis where our economy is pulling back. Do you know that probably 80 or 90% of all the bookings in the Bahamas is done out for the Bahamas is done outside the Bahamas? If we are facing a U.S. currency crisis, shouldn't it be that Atlantis and Bahama and all these other hotels actually take their reservations payments in the Bahamas in U.S. currency so we could decide how much we keep and go back? And so what happens is, though, this is a system of extraction. When we were colonized, the system said that they were to come and colonize us. We had to spend us a governor, somebody to govern us, to make sure there was no slave uprising, and the resources of the country was to be extracted and sent back to the queen. Isn't that the exact same system where we have people governing us, including our financial resources and whatever is extracted and sent back out of the country? And the governor or the governors are rewarded with a token, like a piece of land or something, and a title, like they do in it says, "You are now Lord such and such. Thank you for oppressing the people of the Bahamas for so long, and there was no uprising into the town, and so we're going to reward you." Well, guess what? It's amazing. They found out that they could save money by just taking some Negroes, putting them in the house called the House of Assembly, and they will keep the other Negroes in the field, and they will get rewarded with titles and a token piece of land or something as of that sort. And so again, we are using the same system that was designed to oppress us. We must no longer beg to sit at anybody's table. The Bahamians must demand that we or come back as a collective, I say, and build our own table and invite the world to sit at our table. We have $3 billion worth of $3 trillion, sorry, $3 trillion according to the WTO of economic activity that happens in the Bahamas. The Bahamas have nothing to knows about it. 80% of the ships that pass to service the United States or even leave the United States pass into the sovereign economic zone of the Bahamas. We have no benefit from that. We have not looked at ideas of climate change that's affecting us, that the billions of dollars is available, and that's part of our Build Back Better type environment. We're going to look at the resources to fight global warming that is available for us. In fact, we have the resources necessary to build back better, stronger together right in the Bahamas. We talk about the Aragonite, we talk about the Bahama banks. We're not talking about using technology to shore up the Bahamas, who will facing tremendous shock impact from climate change. We're talking about continuing with Earth at 2030, when a simple investment of $500 million can eliminate the need for oil for energy generation in the Bahamas. Technology exists today, and the beauty about it, properly prepared, foreign people, foreigners who wants to benefit from our positioning would pay for it. But then you would have to now stop buying $300 million worth of oil from some family, friends, and lovers regime. So it's not about, you talk about free energy. See, I hear a lot of the linguistic contortionism by third parties and even the government party and the one-to-be government. But they're giving you ideas. I call it P squared. Parrot it, right? They steal these ideas and have no idea what it is, and then parrot it, repeat it. We need to begin to test the people and says, if you can do something now, why wait? A sovereign wealth fund today can give us everything we ask for. We have 2 million acres that sits in a BNT for which the government seems to have no accountability for. Trillions of dollars of real estate sits in the Bahamas National Trust that no one seems to be accountable to the Bahamian people for, yet we say it's for Bahamians. The government of the Bahamas, or the 3 million acres, can simply put 50,000 acres as a leverage in a sovereign wealth fund, where it used to put beachfront and other people, where it has development value of even $300,000 per acre for the development value. You're talking $50 billion or more that that's available instantly to our Bahamian people, the Bahamas isn't going anymore. They're not making any more countries like the Bahamas that we can actually begin to leverage and give Bahamians what they want. We don't need to be elected to Parliament to achieve the things we want if we know what is it we want and how we want to have it achieved. That's where we are seeking to have the conversation to make Grand Bahama and Abaco the models for what the rest of the Bahamas could be. Because we have 30 islands, and we're going to use the two that's most prepared to become the model for what the Bahamas is and shall be. And we're going to ask Bahamians across the archipelago to consider Grand Bahama and Abaco your new birthplace for economic empowerment, the fulfillment of that social contract where we're gonna reclaim the dream, we're gonna reclaim the vision, fulfill and fulfill. Sorry, let me repeat that. We are gonna reclaim the vision that our forefathers have and fulfill the dream of ownership. And this is not a dream where you have to go to sleep. This is going to be one where you could be wide awake and actually enjoy it in a new social contract. And I challenge people to say this, Michelle, for those 20,000 homes to be talking about, or they want to have a discussion. I challenge people to find out how they could get one of them, and we'll tell you how.
I want to read a couple of comments to you. Graham says, Big Oil makes $400 million, according to the Prime Minister, in fuel to run generators, according to his 60-minute interview on Ragged Island Solar, CBS. Here's the thing. Privilege is not easily given up. If I am privileged, this is another comment by Graham. If I am privileged and I'm enjoying that privilege, I'm not just going to walk up to you and say, here you go. You can have it. And I think a big part of the problem that we are facing in this country is you talked about the handful of people who have all the billions of dollars stashed away in banks. Why would they want to give up that privilege? And what never ceases to amaze me is that you have who are either pretending that they don't understand what's going on or are really not as intelligent as they think, who can't see that this is not a broken system. This is designed to be the way that it is. And what never ceases to amaze me is how we have so many Bahamians who are willing to prostitute themselves at the expense of the nation just because they getting greased a little bit. They got a couple of dollars on the side or whatever, or got a position, or, I heard of one particular Bahamian who is running pretty much a foreign country, a foreign company. They are the face in the Bahamas. They getting paid, I think, $250 million a year. Not 250 million, 250,000 a year. And they happy with that because they figure, I went in big. Meanwhile, this company is making so much money over this country. But yet this person is happy to sell out their country for $250,000 because me and mine straight, not looking at the bigger picture. So until we... Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You made a valid point. People wonder, why does a prostitute goes to the street every night, makes thousands of dollars, and hand it to a pimp? Because she's been conditioned to that level of abuse. In fact, she will argue that one day he's going to buy her house. Mind you, she done made more than enough money in the last 3 months to buy a house, but he's going to buy her house and he's going to buy something new or whatever. It's almost a conditioning.
One that's being prostituted. So right. it just
yes. But it's the mindset of the person. It's only when someone takes them away for them to understand. So when you talk about leadership, it says power concedes. One of my fraternity brothers said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." To that I add, power concedes nothing without a demand. But I add, it will never concede to the demand of an emasculated constituent. You cannot send people to Parliament, or first let me clear that you can't demand nothing from me on your knees. I don't care if it is yours. Okay. and we must get up off our knees. Nor can you send individuals to parliament where you are sending the very people who oppress you, their family, the friends, the lovers, the finances, and foreigners regime, to release you from your prisoners. That's like you saying, let's imagine the guys in the prison say, let's elect the gods. It's madness. It doesn't free you from the prison. And so you're not having a possibility of having a conversation concerning what are the solutions. What you have is individuals who are so happy that you've broken down will come and offer you straw as a means of building a house. And or you're drowning, they say throw a drowning man straw, he'll grab for it. And this is why a lot of the people are taken to the third parties, is because broke promises are being made, and and it's almost as if though you're telling the blind people, I dare any one of you blind people to tell me this cloth is in red. And see, and he goes, see, nobody challenged me, really. Okay.
Wow.
But they only make that statement among the blind. They will never come among those with sight and make the statement and be really challenged. And so this is what leadership does, and they consider you fools because promises are comfort to a fool. And so the easiest thing in making a selection is ask you how one determines you're a fool. 2 questions you ask. Do the person has the ability to keep the promise? If the answer is yes, you say, do they have the intent? And that answer must also be yes. At any given time, if one or neither of those questions is yes, they are calling you a fool. How do you make the determination? Look at, do they have the ability, and judge their record, especially if they've been there before, and ask, did they keep it the last time? If they haven't kept it the last time or done anything to prove it, and they have had the ability being in governance, or they've had the ability being outside of governance, they're calling you a fool. And so we are going to have a conversation concerning a sovereign wealth fund that requires no sitting member of parliament nobody to go into parliament. Everything you ask for, even the gang violence, I would say this. If you are a member of a street gang in New Providence and tired of dying for the illusion of millions of dollars, and I can tell you, consider one of the second most violent street gang in the United States. I'm not proud to say I was a founding member of it. I know what street gang is. I know what street gang culture. I hear these guys in the Bahamas talk about how they used to walk around with knives and knives and rocks and conch shell. I'm talking about street gangs in the U.S. where the shower posse, the most violent street gang there is, was afraid of this grouping of people. So I understand the culture and I understand the power of wealth building. And I would say to any gang leader in the Bahamas, call me and I will show you where the dope game is a lie. And I will show you how you could take ownership of your country as a gang of businessmen, and you don't need to go and kill each other for territory of dope. I will show you how to claim an economic territory within your country. It is not conditioning. It's opportunity. It's ownership. They are being excluded from the ownership of the economy, and so they have to go and fight for weed. You hear them sitting around hoping that the government legalize weed so they can sell it? Man, weed is a small aspect of who we are. Okay? So we have enough opportunity here. If you look at the families, if you look at the beds that we need, if we had to take the hospitality, if you look at the supporting infrastructure, we talk about ownership. We don't have to work. If you're smart enough, if you happen to own a bed and breakfast that generates $200,000 a year after you done paid everybody, well, if you want to make up your own bed yourself to make an extra $20,000, we invite you to. But we're talking about ownership of a whole economy that doesn't require you to kill yourself or to give your life or to go in Foxhell prison where it is. And Michelle, we must have a conversation one day. I honestly believe that when you build this new Bahamas, we are going to get the prisoners out of Foxhell and make it a graveyard. And we're going to build a new prison for those who like prison. But you know why we're going to keep Foxhell? Because we're going to have to dig up some former leaders in this country and bury them in Foxhell just so they can do time for what they have done to this country.
My God. All right, let me read a couple more comments. That's Deep Sea Allen. Graham says, people need to listen to this show in a quiet place and understand everything that is being said. It is very deep. Adrian says, Mr. Allen, your visions for the future are always so positive and mind-blowing. Sir Harry Oakes was a visionary who came from Canada with millions. To this day, his murder has not been solved. He was not a part of the institutions. Are Bahamians really ready for this Joshua move? We love our party gangs. I am with you 100%. Bertha says, our education system is designed for us to fail, so Bahamians can only be qualified for minimal jobs. Even if you educate yourself abroad and come home to work in a leading position, you are told you are overqualified. What is this? That's why our children are not coming home after they would have received their degree. We have a
Michelle, let
caller
me just
on.
say that. Let me just say that. You're never overqualified, you're underpaid. No such thing as overqualified. Underpaid might be, but never overqualified.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hi, Miss Malcolm. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm well. See Alan. All is well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Miss Malcolm, I only remember me, this young man who called, probably about a month ago. He was watching the show a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to just talk about the debate coming up. And I just wanted to know if Alan will even be present there to express his ideas on the panel.
I tried to. Let me just say for the record, I am the leader of a sanctioned political party, the UDP, formerly led by Mr. Gregory Morse, that was the last sitting in the House of Assembly. I am the interim leader of that party. We have never made a decision yet as to what we're going to do. I've not used the title yet because even though given recent consent in the last 2 weeks by the executive board to resume the role of leader, I did make myself available to the University of Bahamas as well as to Verizon and got no response. But I will be looking forward, separately from my role as an advocate, to going forward to engage the leadership of these so-called parties seeking to govern, to have their vision compared to a master vision of the collective of the people. So I am looking forward. If they invite me, I would absolutely participate. If they don't, I'm going to hunt down the individual leaders.
Exactly, because you are a very intellectual man. And I respect intellectuality in this country more than anything. I guess our government don't respect people like you, but you're a very smart man. And I would like to see you on the debate stage. I would like you to see you destroy these so-called leaders and their small minds. But I just called to ask you that, and I pray that everything goes well with your future success.
Well, thank you, and I encourage you to call all the leaders of each political party and ask them, not even in a zero-sum game, to just say simply, would you sit down in a public discussion with Alan Johnson concerning refining your vision to, let me tell you what they say. When one person walks in the room with an idea, if you and I walk into the idea and I'm the only one with an idea, or you're the only one with an idea, and we both leave, we leave with one idea. But if you come into the room with an idea and I leave it, and I have an idea, when we leave, we have two ideas that we can build on. And so I'm not necessarily destroying, I'm saying about hunting down to challenge them to think deeper, broader, and further into the future than they've been doing.
Yes, I very well agree with you on every level, because you are the only one I have seen, and I do watch every third party, everybody. I keep my eye on everybody who's saying they want to bring change. But I always watch the people who use the intellectuality, because that is an important thing in this new Bahamas that we are trying to create. The current regime now, they don't want smart Bahamians. They rather ignorant, stupid people who just want to go and party and drink all day. So I am very excited for you to be participating in this new Bahamas. And I also pray that you get the credit that you deserve, and you need a new position in this country to bring us forward and, all together.
All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Sir. Thank you for your support.
Okay. Let me go back to one or two more comments. Jason says, too much knowledge to contain in one show. Write the vision, make it plain. I think he's advocating for you to write a book, Alan.
The vision is, I'm not only writing it, I'm actually going to make it in video and audio so you can listen too. That's the whole thing I'm speaking of, is preparation. It's been made for that.
Christopher says, good afternoon. Great show. Knowledge is so powerful. Siobhan says, be careful, Alan. They recording. Laugh out loud. And Oswald.
I hope they are. He has the parliament next week.
Oswald says, Michelle, the great female Spanish revolutionist Dolores Gomez said, it is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. So we have one more caller. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, Michelle, just before you leave, I just want to tell you and my good friend, see, you're one of the gentlemen. I would not have a problem going to war with me. You know what I mean? You're one of those guys, brother. When this country was in trouble, for the record, when this country was in trouble, you stood strong. Your ideas were, I guess, ahead of the country, ahead of time. That's how you're a very enlightened person to listen to. Thank you, Michelle. GPS for life.
Thanks for calling, Amos. Thank you very much. All right. So how do we get up off of our knees? Because you gave us some great ideas today, but too many of us are still on our knees. And so how do we get up and stand on our feet to make this happen?
First step, begin to believe. Let's make a commitment as to exactly what it is you want to do. Remember, let's build this. The best way for us to guarantee the future is to collectively create it. The best way for Bahamians to guarantee the future is to collectively create it. Not members of parliament, not political parties, not them, not me, us. Not me, us. Not you, us. Not them, us. And so essentially we says that the collective intelligence of all of us will always exceed some of us. The collective intelligence of all of us will always exceed some of us. And so let's begin to have a conversation. The first thing it is to ask. There's nothing wrong. Trust but verify. Ask questions. And let's have a conversation on ownership, and let's ask why not. Ask them, why can't we have this? If Seattle is saying this, if Scrum is saying this, if Gilbert Morris is saying this, if Monty Pratt is saying this, and all these other people are speaking into these things, if you don't know, then how could you argue against something? Have your leadership come. You notice that the leadership never challenged Seattle Johnson. You notice that the leadership never challenged Monty Pratt. You notice that the leadership never challenged Gilbert Morris. You notice that the leadership never challenged KCX. You notice that the leadership never challenged Graham Weatherford and these other people. Because their best bet is to have the most ignorant supporters amongst them attack the person so they don't have to address the message. And so what we have to do is look at the message and look at how the world is being shaped and ask yourself, can we do this? Not can my MP do this for me? And I say, yes, we can. We do not lack the capital that is needed. The brand of the Bahamas is worth trillions. You just need leadership to leverage it in your favor. The laws that is necessary has been passed and can be passed to allow you to do what Atlantis did, to do what Bahama did, and to do what almost every single investor did who came into this country with an empty briefcase and is leaving with millions and billions. We are saying let's internalize and collectively share the wealth of this nation has been given to us and leverage the brand to build the hospitality industry, to build the green, the blue, the orange, the knowledge, the digital and conceptual economies for Bahamians and by Bahamians. For those that's not necessarily here, those in the archipelago. But let's begin to have the conversation in small group, in your housing, in your community, on your job site, and reach out to people like me. And I know most of the people in this country that I consider capable. And let's have a conversation. Let's invite us to your church, invite us to your community services, invite us to your community organization, and challenge us to bring proof and show you in a manner broken down that you can understand and digest. Thank you.
Because you ain't trying to sell us dreams, right?
No, I'm not. I'm saying this ain't no way I can tell you you're gonna get free this and free whatever. I'm gonna show you on paper where when you get this brand new house and the electric car is parked in the front and the distributed energy system is in your home, and the most important thing which will pay for these systems is your bed and breakfast and your distributed data system that exists, built all on the blockchain with smart contracts that will be enforced, and it doesn't cost you anything as a dime. Why? Because we as a collective will come together and sell one master plan that people are willing to put billions behind because they're already doing it. They're spending the billions every year coming here, You're just not keeping it. So I'm simply saying, what if for a moment you keep the billions of dollars that flows to the Bahamas and pay for the billions that they live in, and rather than somebody else going in? No more labor. We can own it. So we need laborers. Remember I said the million people? Let's import the laborers, put on our pajamas, and hire some people in suits to run our businesses.
All right. We are out of time, Ciel, and thank you so much. That was a mouthful.
Thank you so much.
And I agree with somebody who said you got to go back and watch this in a quiet place because it's a lot of information, and I want you to get it. I want you to get it. So
truth resides on GPS right here.
Yes. Well, that's it, guys. Time is gone. It is just about 1 o'clock. And so that means that we are going to call this one a day and prepare for tomorrow. And so thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you right here, same time, same station, for another riveting show. This is GPS, and I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Have a good day.